8-5 is finding the circumference of a circle. So circumference is really the perimeter of a circle. It is the distance all the way around the circle. And when we know the diameter and the radius of a circle, we can find the circumference. And we can use two different formulas. Those are c equals d times pi and c equals 2 pi r. So first thing to recognize is that the operation that's going on here, guys, is multiplication. This means diameter times pi. This means 2 times pi times the radius. And remember that the circumference, like I said, is the distance around. The diameter is the full length. If you cut a circle in half from here to here, this full distance, and the radius is just halfway. So if you start at the center of the circle and you move out toward the edge of the circle, that distance, whatever that distance is of that circle, is called the radius. All right, so that's really important to know the difference between the two. So if we're given the diameter, like we are for this one, we can use the formula that has diameter in it and make it easier on us. But you can also know that half of the diameter is the radius. So if you want to take this diameter, 10, and divide it by 2 and get 5, you know that the radius of this circle is 5. And then you can put it into that formula with the radius. So either way, but I want you to know both. So first things first, we're going to calculate the circumference of this circle, and I've already kind of shown you my work, so I want to show you what I did here. So I first just rewrote the formula that I was going to use, c equals diameter times pi. Then I substituted the value 10 because I knew that this diameter of this circle was 10. So I replaced the diameter d with 10 instead. So one thing I want you to know on your homework for Pearson, sometimes it asks you to put your answer in terms of pi. What that means is to just leave pi almost like a variable, and we don't have to actually calculate it. Okay, so if you'll remember from Pi Day back in March, pi is 3.14 and a bunch of other digits that go on forever, right? But sometimes we just use 3.14 and sometimes we can just use the symbol for pi. So if it asks for your answer in terms of pi, it's just going to be 10 pi, like this one. But if it asks you to use 3.14 for pi, then you actually do 10 times 3.14, which would be 31.4 centimeters for that. So make sure you know if it's asking in terms of pi or to use 3.14 as your pi. And don't use your pi key because everybody would have a different amount of digits, and so it ends up being a little bit different answer. So make sure you're reading those directions and knowing exactly what they want you to use for pi. So let's do a couple more examples. If the diameter is 20, right, I can use this equation again. So I would substitute and put the 20 in for the diameter. So in terms of pi, the circumference of this circle would just be 20 pi. And if we actually calculated it, it would be 62.8 centimeters. And if we have a circle that we know the radius instead of the diameter, we can use this formula. So c equals 2 pi times r, which would in this case be 4. And remember, guys, sometimes people get confused with this, but this again is just meaning 2 times pi times 4. Now, because multiplication is the way it is, we can multiply those in any order, meaning you can go 2 times pi times 4, or you can go 2 times 4 times pi, Or you can go pi times 4 times 2, right? It doesn't matter what order you do multiplication in, you can do it any way. So for this one, if it was asking for your answer in terms of pi, it would be 4 times 2, which is 8, and then 8 times pi, or just 8 pi. And then if you wanted it, if it was asking you to calculate it with 3.14, you would actually do the multiplication 8 times 3.14. Sometimes we can use the fraction 22 over 7 for pi also. So in that case, if they were telling you to use that, you would do 8 times 22 over 7. And you can, to find the circumference, still use your pi key, but again, just make sure you know how to enter it on the computer so you can get the correct answer. All right, good luck.